Hi, everyone. This is Alexis Boss, and welcome back to Your Favorite Black Lobbyists podcast. Okay, y'all, we made it to season 2. I am super excited. I'm so thankful that y'all been on the journey with me. Season 1 was definitely had some trials and some testimonies, and I learned a lot. But now that I'm back for season 2, bigger and better, baby. I am super excited. So let's get into it. Okay, so one of the topics for today that we're going to talk about in the current events is what's happening right now in the federal side. So, right now, the House and the Senate is kind of going back and forth or debating about the ACA, which is known as the Affordable Care Act, which was formerly known as Obamacare, right? Everybody is very familiar or aware of that term and what that is. And so, right now, a lot of the issue is that the healthcare subsidy. So the subsidy that they're referring to, that they're really debating about, is over a COVID-19 subsidy that was used to help decrease the premiums for our everyday Americans that are using the ACA, right, the Affordable Care Act. And so that subsidy was a cost that the federal government was taking on from the insurance companies, right? So what we're seeing now is that most Democrats and most Republicans right now are not really seeing eye to eye on the extension of that subsidy because the subsidy ran out. It sunset of in last year. So, of course, the main argument, right, is for Democrats is affordability. They're saying that, you know, well, people can't afford health insurance and it's really hard for people to be able to afford the current premium without the COVID-19 subsidy. So the main argument is like, well, we need to continue on that subsidy because people need health care and people need affordable health care. Well, the Republican argument currently is, well, we understand and we agree with you that affordability is an issue, but that was a subsidy for only COVID-19 and during the pandemic. So now that we are no longer in a pandemic, now that we're no longer in that and we're out of it, there's no need for us to have the same subsidy. And that subsidy is the main cost of that subsidy is being taken on by the federal government, and that subsidy is helping out the insurance companies, which we don't want to do. And also, plus, right, it's not a political debate or even unknown fact that most Republicans did not care or didn't even support or vote for the Affordable Care Act or even for Obamacare, right? So it's not something that they were even excited to even do or even be a part of. So it makes sense, right, why there is kind of a back and forth, why there isn't really an understanding, because that's kind of how it was in the beginning of when it first came out, right, during under the Obama administration. So I just kind of wanted to paint a picture, right, of just kind of what's going on and how that is impacting people. I think a lot of people, as they saw, going into the new year, that their premiums, that their coverage has shifted, especially the cost of that coverage. Some people have opted out of it because they can't afford it, and some people have chose to pay the increased price. I think, I'm not bringing this up to influence your decision, but just to educate you again on what's happening right now. I don't foresee that the subsidy will be extended or it will be back down to what it was previously was. So I think what the premium that you're seeing currently, if you are on the Affordable Care Act or under that health insurance, it is probably going to stay like that. I don't foresee that shifting or changing, especially since President Trump is not supportive of the measure. And from what I read or researched, he is looking to invest in his own healthcare plan. And so we're all staying tuned on just kind of how this is unfolding and how this is going to continue to impact you and impact your household. But I just wanted to kind of give you that update because I know a lot of people were just like, a lot of people are on Obamacare and how, you know, we're in, again, an economic recession. Some may argue that we are, some may argue that we aren't. I'm not here to debate that. But I think a lot of people are noticing that there is an increase in price, right? There is an inflation. And also, there is also a lot of jobs are not hiring, right? A lot of jobs or companies are letting go of people. So we're starting to see a shift. Let's say that we're starting to see a shift in our economy. And as we're seeing the shift, it is becoming more increasingly difficult for people to be able to, afford things, or to be able to afford housing, or, in healthcare insurance, or food, right? And so I think as we're having these conversations, especially around laws being passed, especially around debates or topics, especially around policy related issues, I think it's really important that we recognize, again, and we break it down to, again, how does this impact me? How does this impact my community? And also, how can I make a difference? And so the biggest way is just to stay educated, research, read, and also do all of that while respecting one another, right? And I can understand it could be very difficult to do all those things, especially when there is an ethos, there is an emotional attachment to that, because this impacts you and it's a real thing and your feelings are valid. But I think it's definitely something that, I want to be able to start implementing now, to where I can at least keep you up to date on what's currently happening on the federal side, no matter where you are. I'm based in Georgia, so I want to try to make it as broad as possible, but also want to keep you updated. So hopefully that was helpful for you. Hopefully that you were able to get some clarity or some assurance on just what's going on, especially around your healthcare premiums. So I completely understand those that are impacted by it or not impacted by it, or even if they have lost their job and can't afford health insurance or no longer receiving health insurance. So I completely understand. So hopefully that was of help to you. All right, I know we got that out the way during our current events segment. So now I want to get into season 2, bigger and better, baby. How we're going to be bringing in new guests, new topics and discussions, new things. And I'm just, again, super, super excited for just what's to come. Before I get into that, I think it's great that we can go down a memory lane and just take us through season 1.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone. I'm Alexis.
And this is
Your Favorite Black Lobbyist podcast.
How can I coexist with the fact of fear and faith and walking into something and staying grounded in that?
Our community have got to give to make sure that those doors stay open.
Exactly.
That's going to be the pathway for education.
We need to rally behind the local, state, and federal side of things.
We hold so much power, so much is in our voice. We don't realize how much that can impact somebody.
You are in your community and you are able to kind of just like meet folks where they are with the conversation. I think that makes a huge difference.
They always say a good lobbyist, you should never know how a person votes.
If we have more black lobbyists, we have a better black future.
Did I think that when God told me I was going to launch in 2025 that it was going to look like this and it was going to happen this way, and that, I was going to be a full-time entrepreneur and figuring out things and navigating this new entire landscape? No. Briefly, I'll just say this is that when I first launched this podcast, I know I talk about it's a God journey, it's a faith journey, it's an obedience journey. And no one ever talked about that this was a journey I didn't know nothing about, right? I came into an industry, into a space that I was very unfamiliar in, and I didn't even think I was going to make it past episode 5. Financially, with topics, with guests. I mean, I was just joking with my team and just saying how I used to call up my guests at the last minute, or I would literally film episodes and didn't even know what I would be talking about, just because, not that I wasn't prepared, but just because, I just didn't really, like, maybe I guess I just didn't really plan for a whole season, right? And to continue it as a season 2 and 3 and 4. So I will definitely say that, God is good, but also that I have learned to prepare and plan better and in advance to better, to network and to put myself out there so that, which is very hard to do, right? It's really cringy and it's uncomfortable because you're putting yourself out there, you're promoting your stuff, your brand and yourself, and people could really look at it and just be like, I don't want to rock with that, right? And it can make you kind of feel insecure, or it can make you feel kind of like, dang, well, maybe I don't need to do this, or, make you doubt yourself. And so overcoming that fear, right? And I know I talked about it, I think in episode 2 or 3, but overcoming that fear and walking out on faith, and not just with starting a business, but also with just going out and networking, putting myself out there, telling people that I first meet, like, hey, I have a business, I'm an entrepreneur, but I'm also this and I'm also that, and getting people engaged in what I'm engaged in. And so I think the beautiful part in how I have grown, right, just from episode 1 to episode 1 of season 2, is that I feel like I'm able to hold, conversation and topics better. I'm not rambling as much, and I'm prepared, and I'm actively networking and putting myself and my brand and business out there. I'm more consistent and active on social media than I've ever been, even on my personal page. And just overcoming that fear, right, of putting yourself out there on social media, which can be kind of scary, especially nowadays. People are not kind. But I always say this: you're not really doing life right if you ain't got no haters. So I just joke about that. But I think it's definitely one of those situations where I have learned so much, and I'm so thankful for the journey. I'm so thankful for the team that I've built out and the people that support me and support the vision and support the goals and the dreams. And so, I say bigger and better because I'm super excited for what I have planned, not only just for season 2 podcast and also season 3, because I'm planning for that too, but also just the big year that I have for 2026. I don't know if anybody else feels this, but 2026 feels it's going to be such a great year. And I'm not saying that because everything's going to go right and well in my life and everything's going to align all the time. I think it's just, I recently went on like a 3-day fast. It was the Esther fast. And I also encourage you to read the book of Esther if you are of the Christian faith, or maybe if you're not, just you're curious. But, and it's not a long book at all. It's probably like a few pages, but it was so enlightening that I was able to really realign myself, focus, and just figure out what's important and just reassess, right? And sometimes we need to do that. And I know it's very common for us to do that at the start of the year, right? But I really think that, it's something that we should really implement and do more often in our daily walk, in our daily life, especially if you're walking in your faith, because sometimes I think, we go, we move and we don't really know how to be still or when to be still, or even find the moment to be still and to refocus and realign, or even if we need to realign, right? Sometimes we're going and don't even recognize that we have shifted from where we originally were trying to go or where we're trying to start. And so I think the biggest thing is, finding ways to implement, whether it's a fast, whether it's journaling, whether it's, the 21 days harder, or it's something where you're just implementing better habits, right? I think it's something that we need to be more focused and really prioritize. And I told myself I'm going to do that 3-day fast at least, every quarter. So at least I'm fasting 4 times a year, not because I'm just going to be like a bigger and better Christian than you. It's not that. It's just for what it did for me, especially spiritually, and mentally and emotionally. It did so much in those 3 days that I'm like, I need to do this more often. And so it just helped me to just, again, realign and refocus. So that also allowed me to be able to pour into the other things that require a lot of me, right? You can't pour from an empty cup. And a lot of times, and a lot of us are pouring from empty cups, right? And we're pulling from our reserve. We're trying to pull from other people's cups to pour into other people's cups, and not even pour into ourselves. And so I always will encourage people, find something that pours into you. I know for me, it is, my faith. That is what pours and gives me life, but I always say, what is it that pours back into you? And sometimes it always can't be a person, because as people, we're human. We are not going to get it right. We are going to make mistakes. And we're also going to have seasons and times where we are not our best version of ourselves, to where we can even pour into other people. So I would find something that is not a vice, but that is something that can pour into you. And so that when you are able to pour into others, you're not pouring out of your cup, but you have overflow, so then others can get the overflow from you. And then you will never be empty or low or dry. And it's not going to be, by the time December hits, you're having seasonal depression or you're burnt out by June or July. You can't really have a hot girl, hot boy, city girl, whatever summer, because, or your trip summer, because you're low, you're empty, you have nothing. And so, I'm only encouraging you of something that I went through, right? I try to tell people my testimony, because sometimes how you live your life can be a testimony for others. And so if it helped me, hopefully it can be of help to you. So that's why, I try to offer things that, that I feel are beneficial. Like I said, those 3 days of fasting helped me and encouraged me in a way that I couldn't even imagine. So, but I just want to share that, because I think that was really, really integral as to why I'm able to come back bigger and better for season 2, and with my business, to be able to sit there and prioritize and strategize for the other things that I have coming up, which I'm not going to spoil just yet, but I'm super, super excited, because I'm also planning in conjunction of filming, and being at the, Capitol in Georgia. And so, lobbying. And so I think, again, making sure that my cup is full, to be able to educate and pour into you guys, to be able to, show up at the Capitol and lobby on behalf of who I need to lobby on behalf of, and to, be able to fund and fuel and field the other business adventures that I have going on outside of those things. So, and granting y'all, as y'all can see, if y'all follow me on social media, I have a social life too. I be outside. So, and I also enjoy family time with my family. So, you're more than just one dimensional. You're more than just what you do, right? Who are you? And so a lot of times when you think about those things, you got to really make sure that you are, again, making sure your cup is full, to where you can be able to show up as your best self, maybe not all the time, because that's not realistic, but in different spaces, so that you can be able to thrive and flourish, and those things can grow. And as you're planting seeds, you can build your garden. And so, again, I'm going to get off my inspirational soapbox here. But again, I just thought that was something I wanted to share, because that was so just, that helped me out so much, and just how I'm able to pour into you guys and pour back into the studio. And I don't know if y'all noticed the new setup. I don't know how y'all feeling. Let me know. And y'all be nice, because some of y'all be y'all be having a little mean spirit in y'all, and I don't know about that. But it is still coming together. So as you may see, as I continue on filming, that there's more things added. So don't be like, don't be clocking my teeth, because it's still coming and getting together, but this is what we got so far. So as you can tell, Bigger and Better comes with a new studio setup, which I'm super excited about, and super excited to continue to decorate and get together for you guys. So and you know what, I really want to hear from y'all. What are some of my other ideas how I can make the space more YFBL, more your favorite black lobbyists, or, more kind of the brand? So let me know. I want to, put in the comments. Let me know what are some things that I can do to kind of zhuzh up the space. But yes, so this is definitely part of the new setup, and the Bigger and Better is a new studio setup, and like I said, just having more guests. As you can tell, it is the first week of Black History Month. Woo woo woo! I gotta play a little gospel music or something in the background. But it is the first week of Black History Month, and so February is going to be such a beautiful month, outside of the fact that it is Black History Month, but it's going to be a great month, because I'm going to have so many guests on that's going to highlight Black entrepreneurship and just what that looks like, especially in the community that I serve in. And so I'm super excited to share those people and those guests with you. I have some great guests coming up in March for Women's History Month, and just also too, just, the different variety that I want to share with you. So I heard you guys, I heard your feedback. We're getting some more men on here because the fellas that be watching and listening. I have my current events update. So for those that are really just want to hear the politics and the policy things, but maybe don't want to be bored out for an hour or 45 minutes, you'll get your feel. So I'm trying to take in your comments and your feedback and make it, better and more palatable for you guys. So again, I am super excited for what season 2 has to offer and the other things that I have coming that I've planned that I'm not going to just spoil again just yet. But again, thank you guys for rocking with me. Stay tuned for more. I love you guys. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And until we talk again, bye.